I wasn't supposed to make it here. At least, that's what they said. That's what the world whispered. When the odds were stacked like mountains in my path, they said the storms would drown me. They said the darkness would swallow me whole. But here I stand, not because it was easy, not because the road was clear, but because there was something inside of me refused to die. They said I would break, but I bent and did not shatter. They said I would fall, but I stumbled and still found my footing. They said my voice would never carry, but every breath I take speaks louder than the silence they try to bury me in. And isn't it something, my friends, that the very things they swore would destroy me became the very things that made me strong? I wasn't supposed to make it here. Not through the sleepless nights, not through the doubts that echoed like thunder in my mind. I wasn't supposed to rise after being knocked down so many times that even I wondered if standing again was possible. But somehow, when the weight grew heavier, my spirit grew stronger. Somehow, when the walls closed in, I discovered doors no one else could see. And don't we all know that feeling? Don't we all know what it is to be told that we are not enough, that we are not capable, that we are not worthy? Yet here we are, living proof that predictions are not destinies, that assumptions are not truths, that the story others write about us does not have to be the story we accept. I wasn't supposed to make it here, but each scar I carry tells a different story. Each scar is not shame, but survival, not weakness, but witness. A witness that pain came, but it did not stay. A witness that trials rose like waves, but I learned to swim. A witness that failure knocked, but I refused to answer. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many times have you been told it's over when it was only the beginning? How many times have you been written off when the ink was still wet on your story? How many times have you been pushed down only to rise taller than before? I wasn't supposed to make it here, but the very fact that I did is not just a testimony for me. It is a light for others still walking through the dark. Because if one can rise, then another can rise. If one can endure, then another can endure. If one can break the chains, then another can break free. I wasn't supposed to make it here, but I did not come this far to stand still. I did not rise from the ashes to return to the fire. I did not crawl through the night to lay down at dawn. No, I came through to show that there is more on the other side that there is strength hidden inside of struggle, that there is victory waiting in the very places where defeat was declared. And now, the world has no choice but to see. The same world that doubted, that dismissed, that denied, must now watch as I walk in the very light they said I'd never touch. Because the truth is, survival was not my end goal. Thriving was. Enduring was not enough. Overcoming was the mission. I wasn't supposed to make it here. But look closely. Every battle fought in the shadows shines through my eyes. Every tear I once tried to hide now glistens as proof that brokenness did not win. Every silent night of doubt echoes today as strength. So let me ask you, what have they said about you? What lies have they spoken over your future? What limits have they placed on your journey? And will you accept their words as trains? Or will you rise and prove them wrong? Because I wasn't supposed to make it here, but I did. And if I did, so can you. You transform the storm meant to drown you into the wind that carried you. What was sent to destroy you became the very force that pushed you forward. You were never meant to sink. You were never meant to vanish. That storm was loud. It was violent. It was unforgiving. But you learned something in the middle of it. You learned that storms do not always come to break you. Sometimes they come to shape you. There were moments you thought you would not make it through. The thunder roared like a reminder of every failure you ever carried. The rain beat down on you like the voices of those who doubted you. The winds howled like the echoes of every fear you ever believed. But even in the middle of that storm, something inside you refused to quit. Something inside you held on when everything else was telling you to let go. And then, slowly, you realized the storm was not your enemy. It was your training ground. The winds that threatened to knock you over became the resistance that built your strength. The rain that blurred your vision washed away the lies that clouded your soul. The thunder that terrified you became the drumbeat of your courage, and the storm that was meant to bury you became the proof that you could rise. You see, storms are not sent to the weak. Storms are drawn to the strong, because it takes a storm to reveal what cannot be shaken. It takes a storm to uncover the foundation of your spirit. And while others may have run from the storm, you stood in it. You endured it. And you learned how to move with it. The storm became your teacher. When they thought you were falling, you were only learning how to fly. The same winds that tried to pull you under became the wings that carried you higher. You turned chaos into clarity, pain into power, and fear into fuel. What others thought would break you became the reason you stood taller than ever before. That is the truth of resilience. That is the secret of survival. The very thing that was sent to bury, you will one day be the reason you soar. And when the storm passed, you did not just walk away. You rose from it with fire in your eyes, and strength in your voice. You carried with you the lesson that nothing, no storm, no trial, no season of darkness can silence the spirit that refuses to give up. Because storms do not define you. They refine you. And you, my friend, are living proof that even in the fiercest storm, you can find the wind that carries you to where you were always meant to be. They didn't see the storm inside you was clearing the way for your rise. To them, it looked like chaos. To them, it looked like you were breaking down. They saw the sleepless nights, the heavy silence, the weight you carried, and they mistook it for defeat. They didn't understand that storms don't always destroy. Sometimes they rebuild. What raged inside you wasn't weakness. It wasn't the end. It was the sound of chains snapping, the roar of doubt being shattered, the flood of lies being washed away. It was the very beginning of your rebirth. While they whispered that you would never stand again, you were learning how to breathe in the middle of the thunder. While they believed you were drowning, you were discovering that you were built to ride the waves. You rose because you refused to believe the lies about you. The lies that said you were not enough. The lies that said your past disqualified you. The lies that said your pain would keep you buried. You looked those lies in the face and said, "Not me. Not today. Not ever." That decision, quiet, unshaken, unyielding, became the anchor of your rise. You chose truth over fear. You chose courage over shame. You chose to rise when every voice around you was telling you to stay down. And that choice rewrote your story, because the storm wasn't meant to keep you stuck. It was meant to strip away everything that was never yours to carry. The storm cleared the path, tore down the walls, and pushed away the shadows. And when it was done, what remained was stronger, braver, and more unstoppable than before. They didn't treat the strength it took to face yourself. They didn't see the fire it took to believe again. They didn't see the nights. They didn't see the nights when you stood in silence, whispering hope into your own heart. But that silence built power. That storm birthed clarity. And that decision to rise, despite it all, became the foundation of your victory. You are living proof that storms are not the end of the story. You are the evidence that lies cannot bury truth. You are the reminder that no matter how fierce the storm inside, it can clear a way that no one else imagined. And so you rose, not because the path was easy, not because the voices believed in you. You rose because you decided that their lies could no longer define your life. You rose because you knew the storm inside wasn't destruction, it was transformation. And now, as they look upon you, they see not the storm that tried to break you, but the rise it prepared you for. You are the proof that no lie can hold back the truth. No storm can silence the destined. And no darkness can bury the light that refuses to die.